make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Isn't this what we're kind of talking about in New Thought language pretty much all the time? That we create our reality, that we are always choosing every single moment of every day how we're creating our life experience, how we're experiencing the world around us, that the world around us is actually a reflection of who and what we are and what's going on inside of us. That's what this song is about. And even though, yes, it was more of a global call to action into how to sort of, help the world at large, what it really made me think of was, there's a quote in the Bible, and I can't remember exactly, where it is or who it's from, about getting your own house in order before you lead. And how important it is to prioritize what it is that is important before you go out and start fixing other people and other things and causes and all that kind of stuff. That first we need to look within, that we need to align ourselves with what is true and beautiful and whole, going back to the quote from the meditation earlier today. And so this made me think of this story that I shared on the last Sunday that we were here, when I was at the gym a couple of weeks ago working out with my trainer, and he always asks me, how's the body feeling today? And so I let him know, thinking we're going to do some upper body stuff, and he says, okay, we're going to start with squats today. And I'm like, oh, not a big squats fan. And so he goes, okay, pick up the 35-pound weight. And I'm like, what? 35 pounds? Are you? And because the last time, 2 months ago, when I started doing, lift actually weights with the squats, it was 20 pounds. So it's not 25 that he was asking me to lift, not 30, but 35. That's a huge jump in my mind. And I mentioned on Sunday when I was telling the story that it was such a neat experience to be there with Garrett, my trainer, who's telling me, you have it in you, you can do it, you're stronger than you think. The words coming out of my mouth that I'm hearing with my head, are you crazy, are you kidding, do you know what happened the last time, do you remember how I couldn't walk for 4 days? And then there's this observer, this awareness going, do you believe you're God or don't you? Do you believe you're the infinite expansive universe expressing or don't you? Do you believe, do you know that you have it in you to pick up that 35-pound weight and do those squats, or don't you? So I'm like, okay. So I picked it up, and then I put it down because it was really heavy. And I'm like, I'm just going to do a squat first just to get the form right. So I do it, and he's like, great, pick up the weight. So I picked it up, and I'm like, breathing, aligning, getting everything in order, focused, centered, in the now moment. And then I did it. He was right. I'm right. I have it in me. And then I did another one. By the fourth one, he's like, okay, you know what, pick up the 30-pound one. This one's too heavy for you right now. So finished the rest of the 3 sets with the 30-pound weight, which was still huge because 2 months ago it was 20 pounds and I could not walk properly for 4 days. So then, I'm thinking about what is it that happens to the body when we weight train? Our muscles tear. Okay, it sounds kind of gross and really super violent and whatever, but they rip. They tear apart. They tear themselves out of their comfort zone, out of their current state. And then if we allow them the time to heal, by the time they heal a few days later, they're bigger, they're stronger. And if we continue in that vein, then we actually build lean muscle mass, right? That's the whole point of weight training. So I went back, that was on the Thursday, I think. Went back on the Monday, and the whole weekend I'm walking around, my legs are hurting. My glutes aren't as bad as I thought they would be, but my legs are just okay, but not as bad as they were 2 months before. And by Monday, I'm like, no pain. And so that's, when I go back and Garrett's like, how's the body? And I tell him, and he goes, great, it's the perfect day to do squats again. I'm like, okay, if he wasn't gonna ask me, I was gonna say, I'm doing them again. Picked up the 35-pound weight, 3 sets, no problem. Now, the last 3 of that third set were heavy, but I still managed to have good form, and I managed to do it, and it was so exciting for me. And then all the other stuff that I'm doing, because I only do half-hour sessions with him, so there isn't a lot of stuff that we do. But since that, every single day, whatever I'm doing, there's at least 1 of 2 exercises, if not 2 exercises, where I'm setting a new record with the weight that I'm pulling or holding or lifting or whatever sort of thing. And it's as if there was this shift within me that had taken place in the last few weeks. And it's not something that I sort of consciously went, okay, I'm now gonna like really believe that I can lift this 35-pound weight. It has to do with this ongoing practice that I have had for the last over 8 years, where almost every day there is something that I am doing to expand my consciousness, to shift my perspective, to remember that I am not my thoughts, I am not my beliefs, I am not my feelings, I am not the experiences that I've had. All of that is stuff, all of that is information that can help me to make a decision in the present moment, but ultimately, it's not who and what I am. Who and what I am is that strength, is that resilience, is that energy, is that creativity, is that dynamism, is that infinite vitality that is ever present in everyone and everything. And there's something in me that shifted a couple of weeks ago when that 35-pound weight, sort of revealed itself, and it just feels so exciting to be on this upswing of just lifting heavier stuff and really feeling my muscles and knowing that the same thing that I do with my physical body, it's the same thing that we do with up-leveling in consciousness. So at the gym, I don't know how many of you guys work out, but there are a few catchphrases that might, come around that you might hear, whatever. One of them is engage your core, right? Because if you don't engage your core, this midsection here, then there's no strength. Okay, and there's so much stuff that you cannot do properly if you do not engage your core. And so when I hear engage your core, yes, I'm thinking this, but I'm also thinking, what is within me? What is the essence, the essential core of my being? That's what I want to engage as often as I possibly can. And so it is so important for me to make sure that I have daily practices that strengthen that awareness of making a shift, especially when I am spiraling, when I'm freaking out, when I'm overwhelmed, when anxiety is driving the bus. I need to know that I have tools, that I have things that I can do to take me out of that frame of mind, get me into this middle prefrontal cortex, and calm and grounded and anchored in the present moment again. So you see the correlation between physical fitness and mental or spiritual fitness. Now the other one, the other saying, which I think is so hilarious, is it's a trap. And what that means is when you're straining your neck muscles, when you're supposed to be focusing on something else and using something else. And it's really easy to do, especially when you're doing upper body stuff or you are lifting heavy stuff. And so I just think it's hilarious. It's a trap. And so I'm going to tell you, I don't know what I did, either yesterday in hot yoga or the day before when I was at the gym, but it's a trap is what is happening right now for me because I focused on the wrong muscles. I wasn't paying attention. And so as a result, I'm experiencing a stiffness and a pain and a tightness in this area of my body. And yet, I can also see this as information. I can get bogged down in this is so uncomfortable, oh my God, it hurts, oh my God, I can't sit this way. And I gotta tell you, on the car ride over, the bumpy roads, I was like contorting myself to kind of stabilize myself. But all day I have been trying to focus on not getting sucked into the pain, but just kind of going, okay, this is what's happening. I don't have to buy into it. I don't have to get involved. This is just what's happening, and it has come to pass. And so I know, even now, honestly, I wasn't able to do this a few hours ago, and I know that it has to do with being here. I know that it has to do with the meditation that we did. I know it has to do with the music that is offered. I know that it has to do with the consciousness and awareness that is in this room, that lingers in this space after every single event we have here. Because that's what this community is about. We're about living life lovingly. We're about remembering who we are. We're about doing whatever it is that we need to do to show up as the love that we are, no matter what. And so my talk title today is Engage Your Mental Muscle. So here in the picture, there's this young woman who's kind of like, I don't know, thinking whatever. But we know that there is that in her that is so much stronger than maybe she could ever even imagine. And that's the same thing for each and every one of us. There is that in each and every one of us that is so powerful, that is so magnificent, that is so dynamic, that is so vital, that is so essential, that is so creative. There is nothing that can stop it. Because it is pure energy. Energy is always on the move. It is never stagnant. And when we allow ourselves to shift our attention to that, rather than what is going on around us, then that's when life starts to change. And that's when we actually transform. And so back to the song, when he's looking in the mirror and he's thinking, okay, I gotta start with the man in the mirror and I gotta make a change. It's not so much that you're changing what's in the mirror, because what's in the mirror is a reflection of what's going on here. And what's going on here is an expression of that infinite energetic flow that just is. And so if not for things, if not for people, if not for nature, if not for thoughts, if not for feelings, we wouldn't be able to experience this allness of being that we truly are. And so when we look in the mirror, what are we seeing? And if we're seeing something that we don't like, it's not that reflection that we need to change. We need to change what's being reflected. And we can do that like that if we shift our perspective and remember who we are. And stop thinking we are the man in the mirror. And remember that we are just what is projecting. Or not just, that we are what is projecting. That we are that infinite, expansive universe in action every moment of every day. And so the correlation I want to make here between physical fitness and mental fitness, that it is an ongoing practice, right? We can't expect to go to the gym, work out for 1 hour, and be done for life, right? We can't go to the gym, work out for 8 hours, and be set for life. If we want to be physically fit, if we want to grow physical muscle, if we want to get stronger, then we need to actually challenge ourselves, and we need to do it on a regular basis. And so this kind of goes back to the quote at the beginning in the meditation, where Ernest Holmes says, if one would take time once a day at least, but he's talking about daily, to let go of all that is not true and focus on what we truly are, who we truly are, oh my God, we would feel so different. And so when it comes to mental fitness or spiritual fitness, same thing. Ongoing practice. Every single day we need to be doing stuff to challenge us, to remind us, to stretch and pull us out of the level of consciousness that we're at right now, so that we can move into the unknown, so that we can experience stuff that we have not yet experienced, so that we can actually be who we can become, knowing that there's always more. Because energy just keeps flowing, creativity is always in that play, nothing ever stops. Even when we try and stop it, even when we try and put a kink in the hose or a block or whatever sort of thing, it's always going, and we're going to be reminded that there's this something in us that wants to express, and it's going to show up in ways that maybe we don't appreciate, like getting sick or getting tired or getting depressed or having accidents or whatever. But when we're in alignment, when we remember, when we honor, when we work with that flow as the flow that we are, then that's when we can, even when it hurts, even when it's challenging, even when they're 35-pound weights that I think are gonna pull me down, we can still pick them up. We can still do the heavy lifting, because when we do the heavy lifting, we stretch, pull, tear ourselves out of our current comfort zones, and then open up to more expansive ways of living. So my question to you is, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? And what changes are you willing to make if you're seeing something that isn't in keeping with what you want to see? As always, the choice is up to you. Thank you, and so it is.